You can see how exciting this is, that there's these different streams coming together now in a way that just wasn't happening and maybe wasn't even possible a few years ago. Now I get to introduce my good friend and my close collaborator, Dr. Ryan Shields. Dr. Shields is an assistant professor in the School of Criminology and Justice Studies at the University of Massachusetts Lowell. Prior to joining the University of Massachusetts Lowell, he was the associate director of the Moore Center for the Prevention of Child Sexual Abuse, where he worked with me and our Moore Center team on some of our earliest initiatives. Although he left us 2 years ago, we continue to collaborate on several projects, including our Help Wanted prevention intervention, about which he will present today. Dr. Shields' research focuses on child sexual abuse prevention, and sex crime policy. Please help me welcome Dr. Shields to the podium.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that introduction. And I just want to say, every year at the end of this symposium, I leave better informed and more inspired. And so I want to thank you and the Moore Center for offering this opportunity, because it really is fantastic. Okay. All right. So I was asked to talk about our work on the Help Wanted prevention intervention. So those of you who attended the Lunch and Learn with John Thorne might have learned a little about that project. But just to give a brief timeline, we launched Help Wanted in 2013. We convened a group of experts in child advocacy, law enforcement, child sexual abuse prevention policy, to really sit and think about how we might be able to develop an intervention for young people, adolescents and young adults who are sexually attracted to children. In 2014, we launched the first phase of this project, which was a qualitative study of young adults who self-identify as having a sexual attraction to children. In 2016, I stood in front of this group presenting some preliminary findings from this research. And so today, I'm just really excited to talk about sort of what we've done since then. We finished the qualitative study. We talked to 30 young people who have an attraction to children. And what we learned from this work was that there's a group of young people out there, sometimes quite young, who are recognizing a sexual attraction to children and unsure about where they can go for help. All of the people we spoke with indicated that they knew that they were attracted to children between 10 and 14 years old. So think about that when you were 10 to 14, if you had experienced this. They were looking for help. Many turned online. Of course, online, some of the two key messages that they heard was either one, you're a monster, and it's inevitable that you're going to offend, or two, they heard messages from pro-contact sites, which said that sex with children is okay. These are two quite harmful messages. And so there was really a gap in the messaging for this population who was looking for help. They were looking for role models, people to turn to, people who had this attraction but are successfully navigating their life offense-free. They were looking to learn more, right? And there was really nothing available. And so that study guided the work that we are happy to present today. So through the generous funding from Reliance and from Steve and Julia Moore, we were able to take what we learned in our interviews for the first phase of Help Wanted and develop an intervention that tried to address those gaps that I mentioned. So working with our collaborators in content building, and then with our collaborators at 3C Institute to actually take our content and develop a website, we've created the Help Wanted Prevention Intervention. And so what I wanted to do today was just feature a couple highlights of the intervention. We obviously don't have time to go through everything, but I wanted to show you what we're developing and then talk about next steps. So when users go onto the website, everyone comes to this welcome page. This welcome page is free to whoever goes to this intervention, goes to the website. And so I just want to play a little clip.
Welcome to Help Wanted, a course to support youth and adolescents who are sexually attracted to children and want to live a safe, healthy, non-offending life. I'm Dr. Ryan Shields from the Moore Center for the Prevention of Child Sexual Abuse at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. Almost daily, we hear from adolescents and young adults looking for help, dealing with the isolation, stigma, and other challenges associated with their unwanted attraction to younger children. We developed this course to let you know that you are not alone. There are others with an attraction to children who are successfully leading happy, healthy, non-offending lives. The course content covers topics such as what child sexual abuse is and the effects and consequences for victims and people who commit abuse. We'll also offer coping strategies you can use to manage your sexual attraction to children. And we'll talk about the importance of building a positive self-image and a healthy sexuality. You can complete the Help Wanted course sessions in any order, and you can return to them as often as you like. In them, you'll find video testimonials, interactive exercises, and information to help you manage your attraction to children, navigate the issues you might face because of your attraction, and build your strengths to live a better life. Throughout the course, you'll see this icon, which means there are recommended websites, articles, and other information on the resources page to help you learn more about the topics in the course. We believe in you, and we sincerely hope you'll find this course helpful.
All right, it was from the welcome page, it was really important for us to establish legitimacy, right? That the users who are accessing our page really got the sense of the value system that we were going to approach this issue. So, for example, those key values include that you are not defined by your attraction, you deserve good health and happiness, and you can keep children safe from being harmed. And importantly, you are not alone. So those are the guiding values that we try to infuse throughout this intervention. Now, the welcome page is open to everyone. The training modules, which I'll go to now, currently require a log-on. During the evaluation stage, we're going to have that requirement as having log-on so we can track users' completion of the intervention. When the website is freely available, users can choose whether to sign in or use a guest account. If they sign in, then the information that they include, their journaling, their comments, anything they complete is saved, so they can go back and see their progress. Of course, we understand some users might not be comfortable with that, and so we still want them to have access to the information, and so therefore they can go in with that guest account and nothing will be saved, but they'll still have access to the information. So on the training page, we have 5 core modules. These are the topics or the questions that came up in our interviews with our study participants as being sort of like the major gaps in need of services. So I just wanted to go through and feature a few elements of each one. We'll start with the first module, which is what is child sexual abuse? So the purpose here is to really talk about child sexual abuse and give our users some information about why child sexual abuse is harmful. Some of our interviewees mentioned that they didn't realize how this could be harmful, right? Or that no one sort of educated them about the harms associated with child sexual abuse. So we wanted to do that in a way that was informative, but also not scary, right? We didn't want to come from a place of trying to scare the user, but rather provide good, helpful information, right? Evidence and empathy. So I'm definitely going to steal that, Kenny. So I appreciate that. You appreciate you saying that, but I will steal it. Okay, so I have notes on what I'm going to show everyone. All right. So as part of each session, we have multiple methodologies, right? We have videos of me talking briefly about a topic, giving some definitions or some education about the topic we're covering. We have quizzes, we have games, we have video testimonials. We wanted it to be super engaging for young people, to be able to learn the information and also be interested in continuing throughout the intervention. So for example, we have vocabulary checklist that they can check off each label and get some more information. So for example, consent. Give permission to participate in sexual activity. Children can't consent. It was also really important for us to highlight survivors' stories, right? Again, one of the things that some of our study participants mentioned was that they didn't truly realize how harmful this might be, right? And the effects, the long-term effects that child sexual abuse might have for survivors. And so we really wanted to have survivors' perspectives be a part of this intervention. And so I just wanted to play one for you.
My experience happened when I was 8 years old. The person who abused me, the older child, he was about 15 or so. I knew him from the apartment complex where I lived. Anyway, I was walking back to my apartment and he wanted me to come into his bedroom. I thought that was really cool because here's this older kid that wants to do something with me. Well, I went into the bedroom and he wanted me to take off my clothes, and I did. He also took off his clothes, and I remember him talking to me about how I needed to learn to have sex with girls. He asked me to lay down on his bed, face down, and he got on top of me, and I don't remember a great deal after that. I remember that I came home later that evening, and I still didn't really have an understanding about what happened. I told my mom, and of course my mom and dad were both really upset. I remember talking to a police officer. I felt like I had done something really wrong and that I was the reason that my parents were so upset. My parents sat down and told me, "We're not upset with you. You did nothing wrong." But that didn't change how I felt about it. I still felt incredibly guilty. Of course, now I know that I didn't do anything wrong, but it was a hard few years for me as a kid. I suffered from some depression and feeling that I was pretty different from other people. I struggled for a lot of years with compulsivity and addiction. And for a long time, sex was really terrifying for me. Actually being physically intimate with a woman. With my first 3 girlfriends, I don't think I actually ever had sex with any of them. I was just so scared. There was a lot of fear. There was a lot of shame. There was a lot of embarrassment. Being introduced to sex in that context and that young, it harmed me, for sure.
Here, we spoke with 3 individuals who had experienced child sexual abuse. For each of our testimonials, we conducted an interview, transcribed the interview, and then had an actor re-record just to protect people's confidentiality. But I thought that was a powerful story about how one young man sort of experienced those effects. And again, we really wanted to have the survivor perspective built into our intervention because it's an important one. Okay. So next we have a module on providing information about disclosure, helping users think through the process of whether and how they should tell someone in their life that they're sexually attracted to children. Now, we don't take a position for or against. There may be reasons to disclose, and there are very good reasons not to disclose. But what we wanted to do was have users think through the who, what, why, when, and where of disclosure to make sure that if that's something that they're going to do, they've considered it fully. So as part of this process,
Telling someone about
what are some of the reasons that they may or may not want to disclose to someone? We also have a drag and drop feature. Let me restart it. Where we give a condition and then ask them who would be a good person to tell in that situation. So for example, you're having fantasies that concern you and you're feeling really anxious, you could really use someone to talk to. We could drop it down to counselor and you get immediate feedback that might be the right outlet if you're going through those concerns. Similarly, if users drop it in the incorrect box, they also get feedback there. So you're wondering how other people manage their attractions, if they tell their parents, and what strategies they use not to offend. If I would have put it there, you get some feedback that that might not be the best place, right? Again, thinking through what are some of the reasons you might disclose, and then who might be the best people in that moment, in that context, to talk to. And then we also had testimonials from adults who have a sexual interest in children, talking about their experiences with disclosure. This also touches that need that I indicated earlier for role models. There are very few visible role models for young people who find themselves with this attraction, right? And so one of the benefits of this intervention, we think, is hearing people's stories from people who are like them, right? So I just wanted to play 2 brief clips.
I think I was about 14 when I came out to one of my friends. I emphasized my understanding, my feelings about it, but it was very difficult. It actually went okay because there was a lot of preparation. There was a lot of buildup in the conversation before I actually came out with it. I really emphasized that I don't want to cause any harm to anybody, and I don't choose to be like this. They weren't massively shocked because of the way I explained it. It's still difficult, as it's always going to be, in the sense that it's a very, very risky thing to disclose to somebody, even if you know them your whole entire life. It has gotten a little easier because in recent years, I received therapeutic work for these attractions. There's a lot of people that I had to explain it to, so it's become a lot easier.
And then we have an interview with someone who did not disclose.
I don't think I'll tell my family. I've got one person who knows about it, and I've got a mental health therapist who knows about my issue. I think that is the best way because if I lose a friend, yeah, it'll be sad, but not forever. Whereas if I lose family, I lose that support.
Again, we just want to provide the landscape of things to think about when it comes to disclosure. We also wanted to provide some skill building in coping skills in dealing with their attractions. Our thought was that our users could be struggling sort of in the moment and need some right now strategies, and then also have some familiarity with long-term coping strategies as well.
In this session,
some examples of right now coping strategies would be don't be alone with children, change it up, use positive self-talk, exercise, take some deep breaths, and if they click on each one, there's a little video.
to encourage yourself to stay strong, use positive self-talk, such as, I've been here before and gotten through this. These feelings will go away. Or, I'm not going to touch a kid. I'm better than that. Or simply, I've got this.
We also have them make their own list where they can choose some of the strategies that we present, the ones that they connect with, and also enter their own strategies that they use to deal with some of those right now moments. So we also have some longer term strategies as well. Building relationships, group support, emotional and mental health support, and of course, medication. Same thing, they can click on each one, hear a little description, and have access to that information. Similarly, they can go through some of the long-term coping strategies we present, mindfulness, deep breathing, muscle relaxation, and again, select those that work well with their needs and what they're drawn to, as well as entering their own. And of course, later they can, if they have an account that saves this information, they can print these strategies too to keep it in their pocket or take a screenshot of it as well. We also wanted to give tools to build a positive self-image, recognizing that it's important for our young people to see themselves as more than just their attraction, right? And to give them the tools and the skills necessary to build that positive self-identity. So
In this session,
we had them do some self-reflection. What are the things they're good at? What do they like to do? How would their friends describe them? Again, the purpose here is trying to see themselves as more than just their attraction is just one piece, right? None of us are defined by one quality, right? So for our young people, that's the same. They are more than just their attraction. Sometimes, especially in moments of crisis, it's easy to zero in on that, right? And so we want them to think more comprehensively about themselves. Similarly, with our other testimonials, we asked some adults who have an attraction to children and are living happy lives to sort of talk about that process, what it means to them. So
I think I'm on a good track now. I just finished an undergrad degree a few months ago. What I do a lot for fun is I'm an improv actor. That's become a very big thing for me. And I'd say it's helped me manage everything else because it's really given me something to focus on. It's given me a big support group. They don't know about that side of me, but they know pretty much everything else. And I've made a lot of friends online over the years. Some of them I'm still very close to. When I met others online who shared similar attractions, that made me immediately feel less alone. There were others, 50 or 60-year-olds, who just lived normal lives. And it was just part of them. And to see that that was something people could do, it hadn't even occurred to me before that, oh, someone could live a normal life like this. The truth is, and not wanting to sound melodramatic or anything, I don't think I'm the happiest person, but I'm incredibly better than I was a few years ago. I was very isolated and didn't really have many friends. But just gaining a support network over the years, that's really helped a lot because I know there are people I can talk to and people who will come to my rescue if I need to be rescued. The biggest thing to remember is that the attraction is only one part of who anyone is. There's so many other things that define any person.
So I thought that was a really interesting perspective. And that gentleman spoke at length about the improv process and how it taught him to be in the moment. And you have to listen and respond to your scene partners. And it's a collaborative thing. I just thought that was a really kind of interesting perspective. Also, I tried improv once and it did not go well. It was a haunting experience. And so I was pretty impressed that that was something that he was able to latch onto and learn from. And I know I'm short on time. And so I just want to show the final module. One of the key questions is how can someone with a sexual attraction to children build a healthy sexuality, right? What is a healthy sexuality? What does that mean? What are the components of a healthy sexuality? And how does that, what does that mean for our young people who might be going through this experience? And so we talk about several components of this. One second.
sexuality is an important.
So, for example, we talk about, we have short videos about accepting sexuality and attraction, masturbation, getting and giving consent, practicing safe sex, and loving yourself. So, for example, they can click and hear a short video about.
When you engage in sexual activity with people your age or older, you should talk specifically about what you and the other person are comfortable with and what you aren't comfortable with. This is true of all kinds of sexual activity, even kissing and making out, not just intercourse. Here are some important things to keep in mind about consent. You or your partner can change consent at any time, even during sexual activity. If either of you become uncomfortable or unsure, stop and talk about it. Pay attention to physical cues that someone is uncomfortable, even if they said yes. Being under the influence of drugs and alcohol can make someone incapable of giving consent. Children are never able to give consent. Engaging a child in sex of any kind is harmful and illegal.
So we wanted to provide information in a way that was supportive, supporting young people who are looking for help, trying to fill some of those gaps trying to be a positive message in an online world where there's a lack of positive messages. So again, even when we're talking about consent, we're talking about the fact that children can never consent. We want to do so in a way that's supportive and not scary, right? So I wish I could show you guys all of this stuff because I'm just super excited about it. But just to close, we also have links to videos that we videos and content that we have in the intervention. They can also go to our resource page and have access to it, as well as links to organizations that may be of help to them. ATSA, Before You Act, Stop It Now, Trevor Project, Suicide Helpline, that sort of thing. And then, of course, information about us and the project, as well as contact information. So to close, some next steps for Help Wanted. So through very generous funding from the Hand Foundation, which we're super excited about, we're also going to build out modules for families, so parents and family members of young people who are attracted to children, as well as professionals, because these are the groups of people that young people might turn to, right? And it's important that they're supported as well, that they have access to information and the resources that they need to navigate this together in a way that's positive. And of course, the next step is evaluating Help Wanted. As Reshmi presented earlier, evaluation is a critical component of the public health approach to prevention, right? And so we want to make sure that the intervention that we built is engaging and effective as well. So we're actively seeking funding for these efforts. So I want to close also by acknowledging my collaborators, so Elizabeth Letourneau and Amanda Ruzicka, two of my favorite people in the world, as well as everyone at the Moore Center. Our collaborators that helped us build content, 3CI, that developed the look of the website, and really were just a fantastic partner in this process. Our funders, Reliance, the Hand Foundation, and of course, Steve and Julia Moore. And all of you, thank you for your support. Thank you for your interest in this project. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.